Wow, buddy. I don't know what to tell you, man, but holy moly. Okay, so I wanna take an opportunity to talk a little bit about Jesse and Dylan here, and re- what their representations are, and what the implications are for the thematic structure and the messaging of the game. Because I had thoughts, I had ideas. Now I don't know how deep this rabbit hole will potentially go, but it's a combination of a few certain observations that we've done previously in the game. Now, number one, of course, sort of as an umbrella term here, is the choosing to be the chosen one. Now, we also mentioned here last time when we met Dylan that there is a sort of hive mind in there's a hive mind perspective to a collection of people who have succumbed to this sort of solipsistic focus, this sort of postmodernist idea that I. The only thing that matters is I, me. I want, I will have things. That Dylan mentioned when we were talking to him the first time, it feels good to say these words. It feels good to succumb to the his. It feels good, thus, to succumb to postmodernism and this nihilism that nothing else matters, nothing is relevant except me, I want. And we equated that, here we go, Finnick, here we go again. Yeah, I mean, we're playing Control, Finnick. Hi, buddy. And I think I don't know if I mentioned that during the stream or if I had that idea later, but it draws sort of a parallel, that hive mind, that solipsistic, egocentric hive mind mentality, and you can see it, observe it in its natural habitat kind of thing. First thing I hear when I come in. It comes, yep. It's just come manifest, and I immediately go into postmodernism. But you can see it made manifest. I made the example of shoppers during Black Friday. You know, that swarm of people that just want things, that rampant egocentric want, where people essentially cause damage to each other, not for idealistic reasons, just through unbridled I want. And that seems to be the common interpretation of what the hiss does to the people here. Want, I want, or you want, specifically considering it's broadcasted to people. Now, keep that in mind, that Dylan here represents that sort of mentality, that surrender to the nihilism of postmodernism, and the effects of it being this egocentric hunger and a hive mind dynamic of that. Jesse, on the other hand, of course, these two characters here are put as opposites and companions, right? Brother and sister. They both had this eye-opening experience in Ordinary. They both were subjected to the slide projector. Seems like the slide projector and their usage of it sort of opened the door to the hiss initially, or called the hiss, or whatever else, however else you want to frame it. It also connected them to this Polaris thing, or a gaggle of these entities. Now, Dylan, or the hiss through Dylan, seemed to have a relationship with Polaris, calling Polaris names. So there's obviously a relationship there, but let's focus on the Dylan Jesse part, the Dylan Jesse representation here. So what happened to Dylan? Both of them survived the thing in Ordinary. Both of them came out of Ordinary. Dylan was taken by the Federal Bureau of Control. He was taken away to be educated or trained or programmed to be the new director. He was supposed to be the chosen one. He was supposed to choose to be the chosen one. But something went wrong. The FBC couldn't do it. Jessie was left on her own, and I think we mentioned that at a previous stream, that Jessie essentially became sort of the control group, for this remarkable pair of children. She was left out on the street to fend for herself instead. She was not subjected to the same authority, the same control, the same holistic influence in her upbringing, in her training. She was left to do her own thing. So as the upbringing of Dylan is represented by oversight, by control, by authority, this authority that we are supposedly here to protect, the authority that is the vanguard or a failing vanguard against this post-modernist influence that is flooding in and destroying that order. Order tried to take an individual so that that individual could be the vanguard against that postmodernist attack, essentially. But in so doing, they created an individual who became instead a manifestation of that postmodern degradation, decadence. Hedonism is a good word for it. That postmodernist hedonism. While Jesse was left outside of that control to the point where the Federal Bureau of Control almost just sort of stonewalled her effectively. She was not allowed or permitted anywhere close to it. She was rejected that authority, that control, that structure in her life. So what we get here is a dichotomy of almost a variance of nature and nurture. Both of them were siblings, both of them were very close, they came from the same place, raised by the same people initially. They had, to some extent, shape or form, the same baseline. They started on the same level. They were exposed to the same weirdness in ordinary. The societal control took one of them out of it and tried to actively make them into their own new hero or vanguard or director, president. And in so doing, they created a weapon against itself. It essentially, through trying to make Dylan into the director, they made instead Dylan into a prime candidate for the hiss. Authorities' efforts to manufacture its ideal sovereign or its ideal protector created its ideal destroyer. While control's abdication of that responsibility generated instead Jesse. Control's distance, authority's distance from Jesse, created instead in her an actual prime candidate to choose to be the chosen one. While Dylan, who was supposed to choose to be the chosen one, supposed to elect to be this individualistic hero, has instead rejected that and joined the choir, joined the mass, joined this hedonistic hive mentality. While Jesse then represents what the authority, what the FBC actually wanted Dylan to become. What we have here is a illustration of... Oh, mouse, are you okay? You okay? There we go. We have an illustration of an effort to try to generate greatness actually generates the opposite of that. While the lack of control, the abdication of responsibility and control, generates the kind of person that the game inherently says is the hero of the thing, right? The power to stand against this faithlessness, this hopelessness, this nihilism. Not necessarily through believing in something, but, doing what needs to be done kind of attitude. What Jesse represents is essentially individualism, as visualized against the hive mind hedonism of the his, and the authoritarian, we are all just cogs in a wheel of the FBC. Jessie instead is concentrated individualism. She's doing this because she wants it. She's doing it to save her brother. She has clear goals. She does not give a shit about this hierarchy, this structure, and everyone in the structure, everyone in the authority just leaps at the chance to follow her, despite the fact that she's not leading. Well, she has no intention to lead. She's just going where she needs to go, and everyone just sort of gobbles up underneath her. What we have here is essentially a illustration of the separation between egotism, as in I'm gonna put my interests first, I'm gonna see to my interests first, and egocentrism, believing that the entire world revolves around only me, as with his hedonist over there in the cage. It is all I want, as opposed to Jesse's I'm the only one who can save my brother. There is a distinct difference between egotism and egocentrism. And I feel like this game creates of course it's manufactured because it's storytelling, right? But it generates this divide between those two, in these two characters. And also tells us a little bit about how you generate either one. The FBC and the board through the FBC is supposed to, through its brutalist architecture, it is supposed to evoke is the wrong word. It is supposed to represent societal order, governmental order, oversight, control, institutions deciding how we live and breathe and how we educate and how we grow up, and trying to artificially manufacture these individuals that are supposed to lead society forward. Through its failure with Dylan, the game, again, these are not necessarily my opinions, but what the game's putting out there. The game is putting out there that this kind of society, this sort of authoritarian, bureaucratic society that the FBC represents, cannot generate the kind of people that they need to defend themselves against this post-modernistic nihilism. No matter how much they want it, no matter how much money and effort they put into it, they cannot generate the kind of people they need to stand against this nihilism. They will instead, if trying, they're going to generate more people that bend to this sort of nihilism. The only way that they can create, that there can be people to stand up against that loss of value, is to let go. I guess technically this is some sort of a libertarian fever dream, or libertarian messaging, I guess. That order and control in society need to let go of the reins if the sort of egotist that can stand against this faithlessness can exist. And if it tries to control that process, it will only hasten its own destruction.